New bills moving through the House and Senate will cut more than $200 million from some Arizona school districts. The bill would phase out desegregation and Office for Civil Rights funding that has been in place for more than 30 years.
In the 1970s and 80s, many complaints were filed in Arizona school districts, complaints of segregation and racial inequality. Through the courts, 19 school districts were given more than $200 million in what's being called desegregation or Office for Civil Rights funding.
The legislature back then allowed those school districts that had received complaints to go out to their local taxpayers and charge them an extra tax. It never went to a vote of the public.
House Bill 2401 aims to phase out this funding. An identical bill is moving through the Senate. SB 1125 is sponsored by Senator Debbie Lesko, who says segregation in Arizona schools is not still an issue.
There's no longer any problems, yet these people are still being taxed for a decades-old complaint.
With many students that aren't native English speakers, districts like Phoenix Union High School District say they have to provide an equal and typically more expensive education to those students.
To say that there's no longer racial issues and equity issues, and that was just 20 years ago, is absolutely false. There will always be issues of equity and excellence.
Senator Lesko is also adamant that this won't have a big impact on local school districts.
I just don't buy the notion that we're going to devastate any schools.
But some schools see things differently.
If this bill is passed, that's $55 million that will be phased out of Phoenix, $55 million phased out of Phoenix Union. It collapses our system.
Without the approval of taxpayers, Senator Lesko says this funding needs to go.
Why should another district that's neighboring to them get extra money? It's not competitive. It's not fair.
Dr. Guestin doesn't think this solves a fairness problem between districts.
A lot of people in the general public think, well, if we eliminate deseg, it gets put back into the system and redistributed. If you get rid of deseg funds, it goes away. It leaves education.
These bills passed in their committees but are now up for a vote in the full House and full Senate. Phasing this money out will cut funding from around a quarter of Arizona's kids, but the Arizona Tax Research Association says if you live in districts like Phoenix Union and Phoenix Elementary, your overall property taxes could be lowered by around 17% after the phase-out period.